Hi, everybody. My name is Chris, and if you come from America, you would pronounce me Mulzer. This is what Jan does and what Richard does. In Germany, my name is Mulzer. It sounds less nice. And if I look around, I know some people. Some people know me. Some people only know my voice from wherever. And some people don't, but will later. Look at me. I mean, I have to cope with lots of things now because the musicians are gone. I have no nice background music as much as I would like. Look at me again. I have no nice suit. And sorry, I have no wonderful tie. I cannot strangulate myself accidentally, and that's wonderful because I always can breathe nicely. Like now. And I wanted to say sorry for something else which I forgot. Oh yes, this was sorry for not putting you into the kind of trance you would probably expect, because I'm just here to talk to you and to... I hesitate to even say I would explain something about hypnosis, or respectively even experimental hypnosis. I don't dare to. I leave that to specialists, but since I have been asked to go on stage, and since I have a switch somewhere inside of me which is out of control, that switch always goes on for yes, 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 yes. When somebody says, Chris, would you please? And this is something I have not done before, and I have not been on stage in Zürich. I have not been on stage in an experimental hypnosis seminar, and I imagined I would like that. And here I am now, me, myself. And oh, by the way, before I start, Laura and not Patrick, right? Okay. We have talked, or I wanted to tell you, we have talked and we have set up a little kind of thing regarding the kind of language analogs, the nonverbal parts, so that things get translated right. But everybody, not only for me, but also for Richard, for the other guys I cannot talk, but for Richard and for me, I would recommend that... And by the way, this is a weird feeling. I am native German. I'm speaking English now, and I'm translated back into the German language. Hey, what kind of trance induction is that? But if you're Italian, you have the right way, and all of you guys, German and Italian, if you are wearing a headphone, please wear it right. As far... Am I doing those silly sounds? What is it? Oh my God. You have to... Come on, give me a drill. Drill in here, and let's have 2 screws, and then I can do that, and I will not lose my microphone. I won't probably anyways, but then I can look... What I can see through the light is you are not wearing your headphones right. Please, please, please. The original source is always here. Probably, if you are alive, in the course of the next few minutes or even parts of hours, you might discover that things are probably changing a little bit in terms of your state of mind. Probably, if you have not done that very often before, you might find out that this is not a bad thing, and you probably are not perceiving it per se before you get up. So, please, be careful. When I have finished and we are going into the break, don't run out. Orient yourself first a little bit, because you might find that you have changed more drastically your conscious mind than you thought before you would have. I said you're not wearing your headphones right. Please do me a favor. Whatever feels comfortable for you, move one of your headphone things either forward or back so that it is not covering your ear, whichever feels more comfortable. One should translate into your ear, and the other one you should have either back or forward so that one ear can still get me. Can you do that? Perfetto. Is somebody having difficulties? Okay. And now, the next thing is, even if you do not speak one word in English, please try as much as you can to concentrate on my voice. My voice carries, because Patrick does not know and Laura does not know what I'm up to, my voice carries so-called analogs, all of these little roller coasters in my voice tonality, the sequencing and all of that. And you want to always catch that. So concentrate on my voice and let Laura's, respectively Patrick's voice, filter somewhere else. You know, the brain is a quite complicated thing, and those sounds will find their way to the right place. And you might find out that I'm losing this thing. You might find out that things are happening to you. And yeah, some of you guys have come far, I know. Some of you, I just heard, come from Australia. Some came from south of Italy, which is even further than Australia, I think. Some come from England and from America, I think, Germany, whatever. And a little test before. Who does not speak English at all? Please, hands up. Not at all. Okay. Now, really up that I can see it. Perfetto. Okay. So you all can kind of follow some language to somewhere. That's very good. Many people have not seen me in years, and some have seen me way too often. And those who have not seen me in years and met me again here in this venue, in this room, have asked me, Chris, what have you been up? What have you been doing? And yes, I have been working. But I have realized that all of this hypnosis and teaching and NLP seminars and whatever takes quite a bit of energy, and I did not want to burn myself in a fire shining without putting some logs into the fire again. So I have been traveling quite extensively. The way I'm teaching, and the way Richard is teaching, and the way many other people and trainers are teaching is through stories. Now, how would you feel if you would see me 1 year and then the next year, and I would have kept my stories the same? In my point of view, that would be perfectly and completely boring. So I thought, if I take living from people whom I kind of forced to listen to me, I will have to experience so many stories, so many experiences actually, and not only in my little home in Berlin, but out in the whole world, you know, that unfortunately I can do for, like a school, what other people think is holidays. You know, many people say, Chris, you have such a wonderful life. You know, you can travel all the time. You all the time have all of that vacation. I said, no. This is my other part of work. And if you earn a living with whatever kind of language you are doing, either you're doing hypnosis or you're doing therapy work or whatever reason it is you came here, I wanted to appeal to you that probably you are way too rigidly clinging towards your life, and I before even having started, would like to kick you a little bit and say, hey, take it easy, it's a big game, have fun. And not just, say it, but let it infiltrate into your life and think about how unserious you can take your profession. Because I know many of you, think, oh my God, I'm so important. Oh my God, I have to help all of those people, and I have to do this and I have to do that, and my whole life, and I cannot go away because maybe oh God, something is happening, or somebody is needing me exactly at that point, and you could really relax. And of course, professionally traveling is not like a tourist. I don't go and buy a Lonely Planet and then I just open up, or even worse, like the Japanese people, I don't buy one of those books from the shelf which tell me, you have to go there, you have to go there, you have to go there, and then I have seen those. You go, let's say, to Zürich here, and I don't know the sites, but I know you have a list of sites as a Japanese you have to have seen and you have to have taken pictures of, because you have to tell your friends, your neighbors, your family when you are back. Not only that, you have to have everything, because your family, your friends and your neighbors want to be polite. So they go to the bookstore, buy the same book, and ask you, have you seen this, and have you seen that, and have you seen that? So you have little tags in front, and you can just tag it off, and you can say, yes, I have seen this, I have seen that, I have seen that. And if I buy a Lonely Planet and I open it, for example, I'm going to Australia or to Japan, then I have a list of things. What is that usually? Best things to do. And I found out some of these things are very complicated to do. And I mean, they start with a hypnotic command. You have not seen Australia when you have not seen blah, 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 blah. And I think, oh my God, now I have not seen it. Oh my God, I'm blind. I have not seen anything. And so I don't buy Lonely Planets anymore as well. And I found out, everybody can just go to any country and start. You don't even have to bring much money. You just go there. And, well, it depends on your flexibility and on your creativity in order to have a real adventure there. I mean, I don't want to tell you stories because you probably are full of your own stories in terms of your life and all of that. And probably I'm lying as well, because maybe later I will tell some stories from some of my travels. The point I wanted to make is that I have found out that it is quite good if you have a kind of a theme, a subject, something you like, even a hobby, I know that people travel throughout all of Asia because they like Kung Fu. So they go to Kyoto and to Tokyo and to Sapporo and to wherever to visit some of those Kung Fu dojos and get to meet people within the world of Kung Fu. Some people like ceramics. I have a ceramic artist who goes or travels around the world and meets other ceramic artists, and I can understand that. I don't have that, and being honest, meeting hypnosis people in Japan is kind of boring because they have a completely different understanding of things about hypnosis and not deep into it. Somehow, I want to have different experiences, and I have come up with a kind of a theme and a subject which goes with my character. It's everything about volcanism, everything about volcanoes, and everything about, and this is the pleasant part, hot baths, mineral baths, spas, kind of that. And so I have, in terms of, this is my subject, I'm German. I'm very relentless and thorough in visiting baths in, let's say, Japan. And let me tell you, you can find lots of nice experiences when you do that. I have found when people are naked, and usually when they go into bathing, United States, when you go into the sauna or wherever you go, wear bathing suits. Even if your plastic bathing suit melts and glues you to the bench when you sit in the sauna, you have to wear a bathing suit. Not so in Japan. The baths are still segregated, other when you go to the very remote islands where it was how it was before the war was, because then there was the American occupation and the Americans taught the Japanese the right way. Because for centuries they have been living wrong and they were women and men together in one bath. How horrible, you know? How could you do that? But the Americans changed that and now you have segregation and this is politically correct. And unfortunately, I can see no naked women in the baths, but only naked men. But those naked men, paradoxically, don't wear anything. And believe me or not, if people are naked, I'm not sure whether you understand me, then you see them better. Do you know what I mean? Especially when the water is hot and you have slid into this, sometimes I think it's a boiling pool, you know, sometimes I think I'm a chicken being made to soup or something like that. At least this is what it feels, because the Japanese like very hot water. You know, for me, bathing temperature, 36 degrees Celsius is wonderful. You know, I slide in, and I relax. But the Japanese like 42 degrees, you know, and I stick a toe in, I think, oh my God, one of those again. But it's very interesting. You can actually get used even to these high temperatures. I mean, if you ever make it to Japan, or if you have been to Japan and you have never gone into a sento, into a hot bath, then you probably would appreciate the tip I can, or the trick I can give you in terms of, you know, go in very slowly, but never stop. Never hesitate, just slide in very slowly until you're here. And the first time in your life, if you've never done that before, you will experience that every single hair on your body stands up and you can feel it. And then you have to say to yourself, this feels nice. And I know why. Because I have seen people, friends of mine, who come and they say, oh my God, this feels nice. Oh my God, I have to go out. And then, you know, because you get used to it after no time. And then, of course, you are in the central trance, in the hot bath trance. Because, you know, with the body senses almost switched off or overlapped with one huge sense, which is temperature, everything else opens up. And suddenly, you see people in a different light. Now, I'm sorry, I have blown all of my points and all of everything, because I'm already telling you about my Japanese experience. But, you know, fortunately, everywhere I go, I search for hot baths. And meanwhile, there was only one white spot in my map of the world of wonderful and relaxing hot spas, and that was England. Because to my knowledge, I go very often for business to London, and for my knowledge, I did not know about any natural hot spring in England up to my last journey. My last journey, a good friend of mine told me, hey Chris, you know, let's go out for the weekend, let's go to Bath. And I thought, Bath? And he said, yeah, don't you know? This is the oldest settlement in England. Bath is Baths, Roman Baths. You know, and immediately I started hallucinating about, you know, Romans in togas and walking around and laying and having grapes and beautiful and innocent women, you know, young women, very young women, and music playing and all these lucid fantasies. And he said, yeah, let's go there. And I said, yeah, let's go there. So we went and we rented a car. And actually, Bath is, I think, 2 hours from London. It was one of those beautiful early autumn days, 4 weeks ago, you know, where you could go out in a T-shirt. And we were, as you know, actually today, we are still very lucky. When I flew from Berlin to here, it was raining cats and dogs, and it was like 3 or 4 degrees, and when the humidity is so high, you freeze yourself to death, or you at least think to, especially when the last few days and weeks have been so wonderfully and nice. And there it was really nice, but my imagination, you know, to be able to take a bath in a real Roman bath, that was just great, because when I went to Italy, you know, you have Roman baths, but not working. It's a dry thing, you know, and you go there and you have a teacher or a tour guide telling you, and Emperor Diocletian in the year 35 before Christ erected these wonderful blah blah blah, and they had blah 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 and blah blah blah. And when blah 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 was doing blah blah blah, then I always get, you know, these hallucinations of Mickey Mouse. You know, I ask myself, what is the relevancy of all of this crap? You know, if I stand in front of a building and it cannot be beautiful by itself, how do I and why do I need somebody to explain why it is beautiful? If I cannot stand still, you know, in front of a picture, but I need to read 5,000 tour guides, or if I cannot see a sculpture and I can say, wow, you know, wherever it is from, this means something to me, then every and any kind of explanation is sense and useless. So, unfortunately, I was very much disappointed, because it was also turned, don't take me wrong. The huge bathon was still filled with the most wonderful mineral water. You had inside, you have a caldarium where you have cold water, and you have what is tepidarium, I think, or whatever the name is in Roman, for the hot water, everything perfectly working. And you had women in high heels, dressed, working around. And it was permitted to go into the water. You know, the most important thing, I could stand there and listen to somebody again, you know, like blah, 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 blah. And I want to go in the water, because that's basically how I came there and why I came there for. But fortunately, and that I liked, some clever businessmen with the same source of water had built modern, quote-unquote, Roman baths just next to it. So after our knowledge duty, we went there, and that in fact was a very interesting experience, because it was a psychedelic experience. I have to tell you, because I have never had it like that before. I mean, you know, I have been doing, I think it was a hypnosis seminar or something like that, something of which I don't understand anything, but I did it anyways to see what happened. And people were so unreluctant to go into a deep trance. I didn't have to do anything, you know. I just started talking, and people said, I was waiting for that, and but there it was very nice, because we had a so-called, what is it called, liquidrome. This is a huge pool filled with wonderful body temperature water, and then you have a dome above it, and you have a video projector which projects kind of lucid, abstract things over there. And then you have foam under your knees and foam under your arms, and you kind of float weightlessly in the water. And you let your head dip into the warm water. And the interesting thing is, underwater, you have special kind of speakers, and those speakers just kind of vibrate and put sounds into your ear. And we had been recording for 3 days, and we did trances and all of that, and they had asked my sound engineer, please, you know, cut together, because I wanted to experience that too, you know. I hadn't had that before, and it's wonderful to do experiments, and I thought, no, I don't want to just sit and talk, and other people have all of the fun. I wanted to immerse myself as well, and I did, you know, and we just had the recordings for 4 hours playing in a row, and people immersed for 4 hours in this pool. You should have seen them afterwards. And we just, you know, it was like, when it starts, there is no end. You go somewhere, it's wonderful. I was gone within like 3 or 4 minutes, and I have no recollection of the whole time. There was a similar experience in Bath, in this modern Roman baths. the rooftop, you know, when the sun set, wonderful. They have a rooftop bath, many people were there, and you have a wonderful, wonderful view, and you can see the sinking sun and all of that, you know, people are chatting. But that was not what I was interested in. I was going down I think it was the first floor or even deeper. And there, the architect had built, you have the house outside, which was a glass house. And then inside of that glass house, you had a concrete cube, which was on 4 pillows. Those 4 pillows were like, you know, like in the 70s, those chairs made out of concrete, and around was mineral water. When the sun was going down and it was dark, from below, around the pillows, was a light exactly like that. But it was not like that. It was, you know, when it goes through the ripples of the waves, because people were inside, it goes onto this kind of exuberant shape onto the roof, and you can get foam, and it's wonderful and warm, you know, and you have also this underwater music. No content this time, just nice classical music or something like that. But then you have the light, you know, you have those shades and all of the things, and then, you know, the then was the interesting thing, because I thought I was having my eyes open, but I had my eyes closed long since. I found out later. And I thought I was looking on the ceiling, still seeing those ripples, but I was already looking at my own hallucination. And let me tell you guys, I did not go too far, because my challenge was that I still had to go back to London, and I had to work the next day. And as you know, things like that, when you let them go towards the core of whatever you think you are, then it can go on and on and on and on. And sometimes, you know, interfering the on and on and on with driving and driving and driving is not a good thing. And so I thought, okay, enough is enough, and I went out, and we started after a little cup of coffee to go back into the city. And while I was driving, dring drang, dring drang, dring drang. Actually, it doesn't dring drang, dring drang. I have a wonderful telephone. I brought it from Hong Kong because of the sound. Am I making something wrong? Because I'm changing. Okay, I leave it here and everything will be fine. And now, because I'm hearing me, am I having my own hallucination right now? Sometimes I'm hearing me, sometimes I'm not hearing me, sometimes I'm hearing myself double, and sometimes it's very weird. Do you experience that too, or am I deep in trance? Okay, it's me. Thank you. Sorry. See, this was the 4th sorry. Sorry for already having hallucinations you're not sharing with me. But I feel great with that. Where was I? I was on my way back to London. And the dring, 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 dring rings, but it was not dring. Now I remember. It was not dring, 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 dring. It was... Well, I cannot sing, so it's a wonderful sound, and I bought it because of the sound, because obviously the Chinese people have different sounds than the Germans or the English do, and now I have no sound of Germany or England, but I have a Chinese sound which sounds wonderful. It has something to do with relaxation or whatever, and every time it rings I go, I don't want to disturb it, you know, let it ring because it's so nice. But there I, of course, answered the phone, and who was on the phone, would you believe? It was Mr. Ronnie Amsler. And he said, Chris, you know, I have invited you to this thing, experimental hypnosis. And I said, yes, Ronnie, I know. You've been telling me for the last 45 years. And he said, but I have a wonderful surprise for you. And I said, okay, surprise me. And my eyes went up, you know, and I thought, what kind of surprise can that be? And he said, I want you to go on stage. And I said, okay. And he said, okay, is that all? I said, okay, thank you. Or what? He said, no. I just, you know, do you want to do it? I said, of course I want to do it. Yeah, why do you ask, you know? Ask me to go on stage. When I can go on stage, I want to go on stage. Okay. So he said, okay, you have 1.5 hours. You go on stage on the first day in the afternoon, right after lunch. I thought, oh my, right after lunch when people have eaten. I don't have to do anything, you know. I just do blah, 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 blah. And everybody will go into trance because it's digesting time, you know. People go, oh, I have to just be really boring. And then people will really go deep into whatever kind of, it's the digestion trance. How about that, huh? And since it's experimental hypnosis, I always can say afterwards, that's exactly what I wanted. But I thought, no, I take the challenge, and as probably some of you know, I don't know enough about whatever I don't know anyways, and so I thought I'd tell little stories about irrelevant little stories about my life, and if the translators do their job right, then somebody will sometimes even laugh. Up to now, and it's all the translators' fault, either I have not been funny or they have not been translating right. Make it up yourself. But I don't care because I don't see you anyways. I'm blinded by this wonderful white light, and you know, I'm imagining this is the bliss of, I'm an Illuminati. I sit here and I'm enlightened and I'm kind of a little bit floaty and floating, and I don't know, have you ever had the feeling of bliss, you know, and it might be the fright of stage fright, but I don't care. If it feels that pleasant, and if it gives me the impression of, you know, of floating into a white light, then I want to have it. And Ronnie. It was Ronnie. You know, I was answering the telephone. I said, of course I do it. And then blah, 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 blah. And Ronnie said, okay, Chris, can I rely on you? And then I said, of course you always can. And then he said, and what are you doing? And I said, what? You know, you just have asked me whether I want to go on stage, and now you want to know what I do. I'm not that quick. And he said, well, you know, you must have something up your sleeve. You just pulling out and doing, or can't you? 1.5 hours, this is not that much. I said, no. I'm going to do something really special. I cannot tell you now. I was lying. And that was it. And he accepted that, and then I hang up, or actually he hung up, and I was driving through the night towards London. And then I thought, ooh, what an opportunity, you know? I was envisioning people from all over the world coming to Zürich. And then I can sit on stage. And whatever I say, they have to hear. I think this is a great thing, you know. And I thought, but then I have to do really, really great things. I mean, you know, in my fantasy. And I thought, what could I do? And actually, I thought, experimental hypnosis. I mean, basically, I do not have to do much at all. If you sit here and you have already experienced some of those kind of trance phenomenon this morning, you know, when who was it, Paolo? I think it was on stage speaking only Italian, and then Laura doing her own thing on filtered down from the stereo of those two guys into the mono of her brain, and then out again into the mono, because you're not listening to stereo, of your brain, filtering through the filter of the filter into the filter of your brain. Okay, if that is not experimental hypnosis, my name is somebody completely different. I don't even want to imagine. I mean, this is, in my point of view, what you do here in terms of the mixture of languages, of the mixture of the cultural anthropological background. I mean, what I have seen during your exercises already, you know, in terms of different approaches and different things you do, and the different way you speak, even the analogues, you know, if you come from Italia, then you have a very, very wonderful and dancing language. And if you come from Germany, you must under all times go in trance now. And all of those things, you know, even if it's preoccupation, I don't care. Seeing how you deal already, you know, with what you have, the resources are endless. You know, I could sit in the middle there and I could just turn up my senses and do, thank you. Are you having fun? Good. You don't have to write because I speak of no relevant things. You can write, but then you pleasantly find out when your pencil glides over the leaf of the paper. Your mind starts wandering, you know, and flying, flying, flying away. You might want to blink your eyes and you want to look into deeper and deeper spaces still in between the words. And when you look very close, the words are just far enough apart that you can dive with your brain into the difference between the first word and the second word. And then a universe will open up inside of you, just in between the first and the second word. But that's only not for you guys, for her. Where was I? Oh my, yes, Ronnie. Oh yes, experimental hypnosis. Oh, I was here actually. Yes, I was with you guys. But then I thought, no, because I mean, basically, I'm a lazy guy. Basically, I don't want to do lots of things, and I just want to go up here and tell stories which are obviously anyways. But I thought, come on, this is all specialists, and they are doing hypnosis anyways. And if you do irrelevant stuff and you tell them, you know, if you close your eyes and you listen to my voice, then you will go into a deep trance anyways. And that face is not the right face, because it would be mine, in which you punch your fist rightfully, because if I do such things, I don't do things that I deserve to sit up here, which I don't anyways. But, you know, Peter principle, everybody gets promoted to the highest level of incompetency. I like that. And so I kept thinking about this term, experimental hypnosis. What does the term experimental hypnosis mean to me? And I thought, well, hypnosis is one thing, but experiment, you know, I have that workshop is useless. I have my workshop every day in experimental hypnosis. You should see when you make a compliment, when you throw a compliment onto a beautiful lady. She goes into an experimental trance. I just cannot find out whether it's always a pleasant one, but I intend it is one. Every day it's the same thing. And I was, you know, since I was driving towards London, I was thinking, okay, since I have experimental hypnosis all day long, what kind of story would I select, and would I find out, and would I want to tell you guys as specialists? And I thought it would have to be a story which is, first of all, true. So I'm telling you guys a true story. Second of all, I would want to give you a slice of my life. Because a story might be true and still unbelievable in the way that one or you or anybody experiences it. And so it was. I have, besides of liking to go to volcanoes and exploding things and all of that, and hot baths, which I told you, I also like art. You know, I'm a kind of an educated man, and when I'm somewhere, I go also to museums and I look at pictures. This is something probably you have done before, and I'm, as I said, quite often in London. And the day before, actually in the evening, I was in the National Gallery on Piccadilly Circus, because there is a painting from Leonardo da Vinci, which is called the Waterhouse Carton, which is a beautiful kind of a pencil painting or oil pastel or something like that. Absolutely striving beautiful. And I like continuity. I like when I go to Rome, for example, and I go to the, let's say, Laocoon group. And I know I have seen the Laocoon group, you know, the famous sculpting, the first time, I think, when I was 16. And believe me or not, every time when I go to Rome, it's still there. This is something I really like. And this is something I like with the museum. You know, when I go to London and I can afford the time and I go to the National Gallery and I go to the painting and I stand in front of the Leonardo da Vinci, it's still there. And for those of you who have been in the National Gallery, there is now a new wing to it, which is called the Sainsbury Wing, because I think of the supermarket chain which sponsored the whole thing and whatever. And it's very interesting, you know, when you go, you never can go in ground level because Piccadilly is on a kind of a slope. So you have to go upstairs and then you go in the first floor. The first floor is actually in other buildings, the fourth or fifth floor, but there it's made the first floor. And it's the only floor, as far as I can think and know, where all of the old master paintings are. Not so when you cross over to the other wing, to the Sainsbury Wing. Suddenly, you are in the fourth floor, or whatever and however you want to define that. And you have a huge elevator, because everybody, in order to continue to look at, you know, the relevant things, is usually the changing exhibitions in the basement. And everybody goes in on the basement of the National Gallery and goes down to the basement of the Sainsbury Wing. A weird thing, and many people get lost in the elevator, because the elevator is, of course, referenced in the push buttons to the Sainsbury Wing, and not from where you come, but from where you go. So, you know, you slide kind of into the elevator in the ground floor, and you go to the ground floor, but you go down. And that is weird. And but this is not the point I want to make. The point was that this is not where experimental hypnosis starts. This is just preliminary to explain the setting, you know. So people are already kind of slightly confused when they come in and they ask themselves, oh, where do I go, you know? Do I go straight in going down, or do I go up? But the elevator from there only goes down. And I was, of course, you know, kind of lost too, but it doesn't matter much to me, because I go in any kind of elevator and I go wherever it goes if I have nothing to do. I had fulfilled my purpose, you know. I was I had seen this wonderful painting and I was full up to here, and I thought, oh, how nice, and now let's explore a little bit. And so this is what I did, and I went in this huge cubicle called elevator, which was moving to somewhere. And actually, really, it was moving to somewhere, because it was one of those hydraulic elevators, which, without any kind of rumble and ripple and whatever, they just go so ever slightly that you don't know, where do you go? You know, do I go up? Do I go down? It's just, and now the experimental thing starts. I went in, and the doors were closing, and there was an invisible female voice. And this female voice, in a really nice tonality, said, doors closing. I like that, you know, because when I was taught, and this is years and years ago with Richard Bandler, and I was taught the technique of hypnosis by Mr. Richard, and then he always made a very explicit point to use the right analogues, you know, the tonality. And what he wanted to have is the command module, how he calls it, the tonality down. And the female voice in this elevator was just using this wonderful, soft, hypnotic, commanding, downwards voice. Doors closing. And then the magic command came. Going down. And so was I. But only that far that I found out that usually the first thing when I go in trance, what I do is sensory acuity. all of my senses get highlighted. I hear better, I see better, I smell better, I taste more intense, and I can feel things I usually cannot feel. And this is a weird thing, you know. You are in a museum, in a cubicle called elevator, and you have a hypnotically commanding voice in a way, you know, you would never expect. And so I was looking around, and believe it or not, everybody was. Everybody was obeying the command of going down. And I thought, this is interesting, you know. I did not know yet, because it was way before Ronnie talked to me, that I had to do experimental hypnosis. But I thought to myself, wow, next time when I do a hypnosis seminar, I'm going to tell the participants what happens, because maybe sooner or later they have a chance, you know, to not participate in a elaborate hypnosis or experimental hypnosis seminar, but just go into London. You know, London flights from Zürich or flights from Berlin, where I come from, or flights from almost anywhere are cheap. And so you could fly just for the right elevator trance for one day to London, drug yourselves out, get lots of wonderful experiences, and if you find your way, you can even make it back to the airport and fly home in the evening. If I could stay overnight, and so I had all the time. It was approximately, I think, around 3:30, 4-ish in the afternoon, and if I remember right, I had hours and hours, and I intended to use those hours, because I just wanted to know what happens with the people with that, you know? And then doors open. And then some people went out, and it was bright, because actually this was the ground floor of the Sainsbury Wing, which was below one level of the other side. But the elevator was still showing that it would go further down, because the exit is on the so-called ground level. The crossover to the other world of the old paintings in the usual British Library is on the upper floor, which becomes the ground floor when you cross, and then going down really deep. This is something else I was yet to find out, but I did not care, because it went the same thing. Doors close, going down. And then somehow, you know, in dim light, to whatever kind of surprise, which I did not know and which did not interest me much, it was going, or some people were going out, and I thought, this is interesting, you know? What I have now is a kind of a process. I mean, I didn't even have to do elaborate things like installing or whatever. I just had it presently there, and everybody was obviously, as far as I could see, obeying to it. So what did I do? I went up again to the uppermost floor, and I selected a victim. And you know, when you come out of whatever kind of trance you're not in yet, then you probably can sooner or later look around, and you can see that some people go into trance very easily. You know, you just start talking in a kind of a convincing way, and some are already in a different trance and probably cannot go even deeper. The question is for me always, is the trance you're in right now feeling good? If not, change. If it's your life you're calling, then change even more. So I was in the elevator. Yeehaw. And a nice lady, a lady like, little bit like her, a little bit older, probably came in already in a kind of a deep picture trance. You know when you saw too many pictures of the past, how that goes? And I thought, she is my victim. She stood there, and the doors were closing. And the elevator voice said, doors close. And then going down. And I stood next to her and just moved over a little bit and said, into those wonderful feelings. She looked at me like, lightning, thunderbolts, devils, angels, demons, and everything at the same time. But she started smiling. I thought, cool. But the most interesting thing is, I thought it would be her who would just react to my command, but that's not right, A gentleman next to her, and another gentleman, and a lady, and another lady. They were just saying they're like, and I thought, ooh. So I just looked at them and said, double. Oh, actually, no, double and a half. They looked at me like I'm mad. But then, and we are now on the entrance level with a bright light like that. And so the doors opened and the elevator, they said, doors open. And I could not resist. And I said, into a bright and wonderful future, just a doorstep away. The lady next to me looks at me and she says, oh no, I cannot go out. And I said, why? You just have the most splendid future in front of you. And you don't want to step out? No. I first have to clear things of my past. And I said, what do you mean? She said, I'm going down first. And I said, and? Yes, because I'm going to see the pictures of the past. And I said, please, madam? She said, yes. Don't you know? This is the title of the exhibition, and I'm not lying. It's the title of the present exhibitions, Pictures of the Past, Manet to Picasso. And I thought, how convenient. And I said, can I go with you? And she said, will you make me feel nice again? I said, yes. And I said, no. But what do I do, And I said, double bind. If she goes out there, she's going to have a wonderful and bright future. If she goes down with me, she's going to have more feelings, positive feelings, wonderful, pleasant feelings. Oh, I mean, I really felt so sorry for her. And I thought, okay, she is my victim. And she went down, doors open, and I did not dare to say into a bright future, but I thought, I give her a little, how would I say, splashy, and I said, yeah, lady, step out into your past, look at your pictures, and come back changed. It was so, she was walking out and bumping right into a gentleman, and the gentleman, the gentleman went to the side and she said, oh lady, you're sent by heaven. He takes her hands, he kisses the hand, and she looks at me as if I would be responsible for that, And then she looks at him, smiles, he smiles at her. She looks at me again, and he just offers her arm, and they walk off. I'm not lying. And here I am, all alone, back in the... Oh, and I thought, okay, I have to go up and down and up and down and up and down again, and I have to explore that. But actually, I have to tell you a slightly different story, which is connected to that, because since you're here for experimental hypnosis and you probably want to change other people's lives, and that you can only, I know that, if you don't change yours, because you need a reference, If your life would change, then you would have nothing other people could rely on. So the trick is, you don't change your life. Actually, you don't not only not change your life, you also not change your kind of what you're experiencing. This is wrong. You should be like before and not this kind of roller coaster you're experiencing now. And especially, please, do me a favor, you should talk more to yourself. I can hear, you are so loud. I don't know, what is he telling me, you know? What is the relevant point of this? And he's just telling stories and I cannot follow anyways. And what is this to do? You know, I'm not interested. He should talk me and teach me something about experimental hypnosis. And now this wanker is sitting on the stage and he's telling all these irrelevant stories about it. Please. Relax, really. You know, years and years ago, I learned to have fun. And sometimes even in the weirdest things you think are happening around you, there is something hidden when at nights, you know, just before you start to sleep, some glimpse somewhere, let me tell you, it happens very often. If I start, you know, can you feel that I'm doing things non-verbally as well, somehow? For those of you who are already deep enough in a trance to perceive that, okay, my antenna cable or my microphone cable already knows. It says, shh, Chris, silent, silent. And I say, yes, silent microphone cable. I will be silent. In my head and in your head, you probably might to try to dim down the volume a little bit more and a little bit more. And please do me a favor. If you're talking to yourself in a kind of tonality like that, please, please, please be nice to yourself. Really, it hurts me. Sometimes, you know, I cannot see much, but I can hear it, really. Just, you know, do something like, this guy, I don't know what he does, but maybe he does something which is nice. Doors close, going down. And please, if you can, just lean back and go for the roller coaster. You might even like it. I wanted to talk to you about... Can I? Yes, I can. Oh, easily. Stimulus and response. You know, these things we call anchors and phobias and all of the crap, you know, which have to do with one stimulus and the response to it and the knot and, you know, all of what you learn in NLP and all of that. Because I found out, and this is quite a long time ago, that stimulus and response is not always connected the way you probably would think. You know, when I was learning about Pavlov reflex and the stimulus and the response thing, then I was looking into therapy and I was looking into those things where some kind of stimulus evokes a kind of a weird or crazy or whatever kind of response. Those of you who work in psychotherapy know exactly what I mean, you know. If you say that people trigger themselves into a kind of a depression or that they have phobias which they cannot resolve, then you know exactly what I mean. And in fact, these stimulus and response relationships are much more widespread in life than you would expect they would be. Actually, almost all of your life is determined by this kind of stimulus and response. The interesting thing is, the pairs of stimulus and response usually form part of your reality, or actually form the part of the reality you perceive as a reality. And the first time I stumbled more than I stepped onto it was when I read a book about, I think it is called Vismaya Maya or something like that. The title... I talk about a book, you know, and suddenly voices start off in my head and I think, oh my, those voices, you know, Chris Mulzer took Chris Mulzer deep down in the unconscious mind or something like that. You're making me very druggy. What was it? Yeah, the book. I was reading a book with the title, How Handwriting Can Change Your Life. And in fact, that was a very interesting book because usually everybody knows about graphology. Graphology is the kind of, people would like to call it science or experiential determinism or whatever you call it, of how to evaluate people's handwriting to find out about their character. Now, in your belief system, you can think, okay, this is like astrology or like whatever, you go to a clairvoyant, that might have the same kind of relevancy. But this lady found out that if you change your handwriting in a way that, when you have, like, I'm inventing something because I don't know. If you write a G and you have this kind of G bow, the down bow, and you make it a big bow, then that might mean in graphology that you are a very generous person. And if the bow is small, just a tiny little thing, that might mean that you are a very greedy and demanding person, for example. Now, she found out that if you, in fact, teach yourself to write that bow instead of greedy and demanding, generous, and you get used to that, within an integration period of like 6 to 10 weeks, your deepest core part of the character changes. Now I thought, this is a really cool thing. And I started, in fact, to change my character. I always wanted to change my character, and doing change work with changing your handwriting or my handwriting, I thought was an interesting thing. And I did some things, and then I lost it out of my mind. But it kept in my mind in a way that I thought, okay, it is not always like you are how you are or what you are, and this how and what you are and your personality is expressed with your kind of handwriting. And a graphologist can come and can look at your handwriting and can tell you're exactly like this and like that and like that and like that. No. The whole system or all of that is changing. On the basis of changing your handwriting, you obviously can change your character. And I mean, this is like you have learned at school that the speed of light is constant. Einstein told you later that this is a relative thing. But in which way it is irrelevant, you would never know. Because still, when you look up to the stars and you guess, then you would know it's many light years away. So, suggesting that there is a constant in all of this creation thing, which is the speed of light. And it would be, as if someday I would tell you, okay, and the most wonderful thing is, of course, and nothing can change and move faster than the speed of light. And Einstein, if I remember right, and my knowledge, and you will correct me afterwards if I'm wrong, but if I remember right, then Einstein said, and if you move something of definite weight faster than the speed of light, then the weight gets indefinitely big. I cannot imagine that. Suddenly, if I move it faster than the light, then I don't even have to eat, I just have to move faster than the light, and then I weigh as much as I want. I think this is a great thing. And then somebody comes to you and says, but the speed of light is no constant. But I mean, meanwhile, that this is true anyways, or in another world it is. Okay, sorry, I cannot kill you because I forgot to tell you to switch off your mobile phones, right? Oh my, no, switch it off, it's good. Please, everybody switch off your mobile phone. Do me that favor, because I will get complete amnesia and you will be stuck forever in the middle of whatever kind of loop I was doing. And that can have fatal consequences. Believe me. Not only impotence like this gentleman, excuse me, it was just an accident. But then, I cannot even imagine. No. You are going to be stuck in your life forever. And it will be a wonderful one, and you will have to have all of those wonderful feelings, especially every time you touch this mobile phone. And you know, I am going to punish you. Your mobile phone is going to go out of fashion. But you will want to keep it and keep it and keep it forever and forever, because it's the one that makes you so wonderful, wonderful feel. That, now you are punished, you know, within a life which is always the most wonderful. And please don't switch on your mobile phones just to get the same thing. No. I mean it. I mean it. Are you off? Good. Completely wonderful. Are you without any noise now? Please, in your brain as well. Yeah. This is you, Laura, I'm listening to. Good. Well, this is all kinds. You know, I'm in the deepest trance, and so are you somehow. And then Laura is entering my mind, and she has such a wonderful tonality, and I think, I want to keep that. But there are my own thoughts in there, you know, and I want not Laura's, because just imagine this would be an indefinite feedback. Laura feeds me back, I feed Laura back, Laura feeds me back. No, we don't want that. Probably with Laura's tonality, we might want that. With mine, you really do not. Now, where was I? In the middle of nowhere I was. Yes, I was just starting to shake a little bit the stimulus response things. Because speed of light, because handwriting, because language, you know. There has been research in America, and I have verified, because I was very interested in that kind of research, and I have verified it for the German linguistics. I do not speak Italian well enough, but I would guess it works in Italian as well. In America, there was a research being done about the structure of top managers and what the language structure is and what is present in the, usually in the, and it was not politicians, it was effective top managers. You know, because some of you probably might be quite familiar with the model of NLP, and you know that NLP turns into anal P with politicians in terms of how they use the meta model and all of that. And, oh, by the way, I can teach you in no time how to become a politician. Use the inverted meta model. Select, let's say, a noun like freedom. Take a process word which is positively occupied in some kind of thing like, let's say, wonderful, to just invent it, and formulate a sentence around which makes no sense. Talk with a very convincing tone as if you would know what you're talking about and you're a politician. And the nice thing is this works in every language. Well, never mind. I'm just popes, priests, religions. Sorry, Italians, but I know historic facts which you would, if you are Roman Catholic, not want to know. The misery started in 530 after Christ, where the biggest falsification experiment, and this is a kind of mass hypnosis, you know, if I would do one day a seminar about it, this is experimental hypnosis. Let's see, we changed the Bible. Let's see, we have, the people of Italy. Let's see, what kind of suggestions do we have to put into their head that we can control them for the next 1,000 years, and then they will give us lots of money and their brains and their help, and they will kill for us and all of that. And how can we cover up and call it religion? No, we are not talking about Roman Catholics. We are talking about something else. I was talking about language. Yes, there I was. Managers. And not politicians. Okay, we have that. Experimental hypnosis, go into the right state, become a politician. And you see, if you use that, and actually, you can become, how would you say, an incompetent therapist as well with the same pattern. You just wear a white lab coat, and you know, you have a wonderful, you say, Institute for Experimental Hypnosis. I think you can say that in Germany without consequences. And some other things, and you have a very beautiful receptionist, and you make a wonderful office, and then you send people out, and you say, you have to do this and this and that and that and that and that. And if you really mean to change, you have to do this and this and that and that. Come back in 2 weeks if you're done. And then you will know, if you use politicians' language as a therapeutic language, as a therapeutic language. And this is a presupposition, if you follow me, If people come back and they have done all of that, then I had that a week ago, A week ago, I was in a corporate workshop in the middle of Germany, quite high ranks, a kind of a personality workshop. And second day, and as you probably, or some of you know, one can buy recordings via internet of my workshops. And obviously some of the people, and word has gone out, they are all in German, so most of you would not be interested or would not benefit from that. But those people could, because they were all Germans, and they had quite extensively bought from me without my knowing, had copied the CDs and were very well informed about what I do and how I do it, kind of. And so they were all there, and second thing in the morning, there was a lady sitting to my right-hand side, and I looked at her, and I just wanted to ask her about her opinion. And I had made a point before, and I looked directly at her, and I said, and what is your opinion about that? And she started to cry. She said, I knew you would talk to me. I knew it was time. Really? And I thought, what's going on? I didn't do anything. And she said, when you started to talk to me, I knew my life would change. And I thought, great, Being blamed for successes, I didn't even know. And she did this whole thing, and I always was beaten. And whatever, she went on and on and on. And then suddenly she came out and she said, can I have a handkerchief now? Everybody rushed and gave her a handkerchief. She just blew her nose and all of that. And she went back in and she and went on and on and on until she was done. And she said, now I have changed. And I thought, how nice, Well, if you can, and Richard teaches you, utilize everything. I teach you, shut your mouth in the right moment. Everything is done in front of you. You just have to watch. And this is what I mean, if you have this kind of language, like a politician, like a therapist, but it has a little bit of a disadvantage because it only works with like 30 to 40% of all of the people. So you would have a very bad success record. But if you make people come back enough times, somehow random would have it that they would be in the right mood, and you just catch them in the right moment when they want to change. And then, in the end, after 10 or 12 years, even such a guy would not resist the temptation of randomly changing. So, if you do it right, you don't even have to do anything, and people are going to change in front of you. You just have to let them. But then this kind of work about the managers and their language, this is really, I read it because of the content and because of the fact. Because it was that linguists studied the language of top managers. Then they went to art students. And talk about me, if you would know something directly opposite about a top manager, then it would probably be a 24-year-old art student, having no clue about management or whatever. And, if you have something in your mind that already, this would be some kind of personality, which is really like, I call it, fluffy. Never mind. Scientists taught in a week-long course the language structure, and it's not many things, it's I think probably 5 or 6 things. It has to be easily memorable, of course. 5 or 6 things of the substructure of top managers to the art students. Then they went out to Macy's, bought them a tie, probably the first time in their life, and a suit. And they did not even bother to teach them the right body posture, body language, and all of that. And just put them into a corporate context. Gave them the context. And they had, it was faked up, of course, they had a CV and all of that. And they were all hired by high-class top headhunters. And I think this is a top interesting thing in my point of view. Because if I go into a corporate environment, you know, besides of people randomly changing, which I cannot account for, I most always teach them some kind of language patterns to exert authority. I mean, basically, you know, you could in like 2 hours teach them all of that and spare all of the other personality stuff and all of the crap, you know, you're usually doing. But then you would not want to know how much I get per day. And the nice thing is, you know, it's usually not me, but some boss of the bosses comes in and says, Mr. Mulzer, we want you to do a personality training for our leadership crew. It's going to be 12 people and it's going to take 3 days. I think, and calculate already, I think I can do it in a half an hour, but if you want 3 days, I can come up with things, you know, because I just count and I think, this is what he wants to pay, this is what I think I can have to, and this is more. This goes onto my bank account, so shut your mouth. And basically, I give you a few things. It's not, do we still, oh my God, time is passing, oh my. But never mind, since I made such a point, I would like, I would not like to, but I would think on the danger of being crucified, I will have to satisfy your demand for knowledge. Yes, this is it. Are you all out of trance now, please? Yes, good. This is my intention. Break a state. Or in a different one. The first thing is the old Robert Anton Wilson thing. You probably all know, or at least those of you who either know Robert or they have read his Prometheus Rising book. It's the E-prime of Alfred Korzybski. Korzybski was the one who invented E-prime, and basically, I don't want to go into every detail. It is about the word is. If you mark everything you say instead of the word is with the word in my world, then you're marking the borders of your world, and you mark all of that as well as changing, which means you cannot fight, for example, you know? If you teach that to your partner, or if you listen to your partner's sayings, and every time your partner says the word is, and you replace it in your head with it seems to me or in my world, then you cannot fight. Because basically every fight is only about fixed points of view and the power of I am right. You have to obey my I am right. This is what I am saying, and it is not. It seems to you, and if you think about it, in fact, it is just that you probably put so much power into it because you don't want to lose or whatever. If you can manage and you replace it, you gain a lot for your life, and of course in profession as well. And then there's other things, you know, like the little word but and replacing it for and then there is, one very important thing is the hallucination factor. If you say one says, you know, the Germans are very prone to that. Be egoistic if it comes to experience. Say, I am perceiving. And please. This workshop is not, and I repeat, is not about hallucination. This workshop is about different trance states. And it might be about hallucination, but not when it comes to other people. And this is very important. Probably Richard will talk about that more extensively tomorrow and the days after. The thing is, whatever you do with, and I watched you guys, oh my, hey, yes, it is okay to go in trance. Absolutely. It is absolutely okay to go first. It is absolutely okay to enjoy. But then you take a different path. While your opposite partner, you know, slides off into lucid dreams, changing his life, having all those wonderful feelings you are putting into him or her. You stay out of that trance because he is switching down kind of the senses, others he's turning up, but he's changing completely. The only thing you're doing, and you can try that afterwards or tomorrow, the only thing you're doing is switching on the max level of your sensory acuity. All of your senses are highlighted. You hear better, you see sharper, you feel things, especially intuitively. You never know where they come from. And you are out, far out. You're as far out as the memory expands. Hypnosis is something, and especially experimental hypnosis, is something like S&M. You know? If you're a masochist and you want to have, like, let's say you are one of those poor guys who wants to be beaten by a lady, and he goes into wherever you can go in Zürich, you know, one of those wonderful and very expensive etablissements. Or now I have heard you can make up things in the internet and you can get the weirdest things you want. Let's say you would be one of those and you want to experience or you want to expand, or whatever you want to call it, the borders in between lust and pain, you know? Like those medieval sculptures of the Holy Mary, you know, when you look at Grünewald or Holbein, which is in Basel, I think is the Holbein exhibition right now. All of these Madonnas, where you have the exact expression between lust and pain. This was for some I think even centuries, it was the most sought after expression. And if you guys, ladies, I know you don't need such things, but I just know my kind. So, gentlemen, if you want to extend your point of view and go there, you would always look for a lady who has like weird eyes and opens, and you know she's drooling and she's shaking. Oh, hi, you come. You want to be beaten? Oh, I have electricity for you. And something. No, you do not. You know? If you really want to go into those kind of experiences, you want to find somebody who is absolutely minute, absolutely acute in terms of sensory perception. Because if you want to experience the borders between lust and pain, it's going to be the borders. And you don't want to go over it. And you know? And if somebody takes like 3,222 volts, looks away and thinks, I'm imagining he likes that. You like it, don't you? Then you know what missing sensory acuity means. Well, guys, you are laughing. I'm deadly serious, because this is the same thing you're doing when you are sitting across somebody. I mean, you don't do S&M, of course not. But if you do hypnosis, it's the same thing, you know. You want to very minute, very acute, with very high levels of sensory acuity. You want to look at your opposite lady or man, especially man. If a lady sits across you, this should be a great pleasure to you to have real high sensory acuity. There is a lot to discover, let me tell you. Of course, if you go inside, you know, and think, oh my God, I hope she doesn't open their eyes. Oh my, if she looks at me, I'm going, I have no word, you know, oh my, maybe she likes me. Oh, but how can I, yes, should I ask? Yes, I should ask her. She probably wants to go out with me tonight. No, because if she wants to have sex, oh my, what do I do? Because I never can get, I don't get a hard on. Oh God, you know, outside, you know, and she will open her eyes, and she will look at you and say, and when do you start? And everything starts again. Oh my God. You know all of these crap things. Please, shh. When you do especially experimental hypnosis, you want to be far out. You want to see what you can see, and you want to hear what you can hear, and you want to feel what you can feel. Very accurate. There is no, and actually, this is why I recommend for leadership training, I recommend people to come to my hypnosis seminars. And you know why? If they are not looking, it does not work. So guys, so ladies, if you experience here in this environment that things are not working, besides of testing a little bit your flexibility, you might not look enough. Listen to the voice in your head and say the mantra. This is okay. In a nice tonality, you know. Turn the volume down in your head. Turn this up, you know. You want to hear your voice. If you have a voice like that, you probably might be able to imagine that this is not nice on a lady's body. If you think it is, test it. Where was I? Oh my God, I'm still in the elevator and I have not explained everything to you. But I will. Because the whole point of this reverse stimulus, response, and stimulus thing is another story which is much more important and much more interesting, because this is direct applied NLP, if you believe it or not. And within the model of NLP, of course, the model of hypnosis, it is a direct, interesting other thing regarding whatever you want to make up for experimental hypnosis or how you want to steal parts of that. Because it is now, I think, 5 years ago, and I told you when I'm a city, I like the continuity of the museums, and I go actually there to see whether the pictures are still there. I had a big point, or had made a big point in going to the Alte Pinakothek in Munich. I had been studying in Munich and I was bored. Besides of studying process engineering and business and doing apprenticeship in photography and doing some other things, I also started to study art history because I was so bored. And I personally think, you know, your brain remembers much more if you challenge it. And in my point of view, the normal kind of how you study things is for mediocre people. And as I say, I have a lot of self-esteem and I just believe I'm not mediocre. I'm much faster than anybody. And so I can learn much faster. And that belief, you know, once you test it or once I test it, has brought me many advantages in my life. Some people think I'm arrogant. I don't care. I have a great life with that kind of belief. But this time, my continuum was lost because the Alte Pinakothek was closed for renovation. I had a big problem with that because I wanted to go there and I wanted to see some of the Dürer pictures. There's wonderful Rembrandt pictures and all of that, but never mind. There was a big sign on top of it and they said, it's closed for renovation for 5 years. And I thought, oh my, for 5 years, no continuum. I have to go for a different continuum, which I did. But then, you know, 5 years, if you do not look, 5 years pass really quick. I still talk about when my son was born and I was in Los Angeles taking care of him and not working for 1.5 years, but just babysitting as a female father or male father or whatever you want, male mother or whatever you come with. It was wonderful. It was the most wonderful time in my life. But actually, this has not been yesterday. It's been 20 years ago. My son just had his 20th birthday. But it seems like yesterday. So, you know, while life was going on in different directions, those 5 years really changed fast. And I was, actually I had read in, I think, Frankfurter Allgemeine, that the Alte Pinakothek had opened up again and everything had been renovated. And I thought, okay, next time when I do business, I make a point and I say hello to all of my old pictures I know from earlier times, and I slide time away and go in there and spend some time with them. Because it's really nice, in my point of view. In fact, it was a complete Saturday afternoon, and I went there. It was not very busy, to my surprise. And because, you know, all of the newspapers in Germany had been full with, renovated, and you have to see, and blah, 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 and all of that. And I thought, okay. But it was, since it's always there was no line forming, and you could pleasantly, you know, stand in front of all of those pictures and watch it from you know, the Rubens, the huge paintings. Of course, you go a little bit further back because you want to perceive everything. The smaller Rembrandts, I think the more expensive the paintings get, the smaller they get, sometimes. But sometimes it's also not true. I went in and I went from picture to picture and something was not right. Something was not right. I had of course, the walls were all, you know, nice with silk, I think, and all of that. But they had renovated the whole building. Obviously, nothing had changed. Everything was a little bit newer, you know. The floor was no scratching and all of that. And they had been, you know, the climate control and all of that was gone. But then there was something else, and I did not know what it was, you know. And I was running around and I was looking. at all of those pictures, I thought I would know, and I somehow did not. And then my old art history professor, you know, you can take classes in Munich when you study art history, where you go actually to the museum every week, and then you have a lesson in front of one picture. And the whole lesson is about that picture. And this was Mr. Böde, and Mr. Böde was teaching me, you know, for 2 years, for 4 semesters, how to look at paintings. Now I look differently because things have changed, but at that time I was very grateful because I had no strategy for how to look at a picture longer than, let's say, 30 seconds and get bored. But then he taught me a kind of a scheme, you know, to kind of analyze it, to kind of suck all of the content out in a way that even if it's a Holbein, you know, or a Grunewald or whatever this horrible things is, you can benefit from it on a different level, and you don't have to immerse yourself into the gruesome medieval or post-medieval scenario they obviously lived in. And I do not want to know what that was. And Mr. Böde was standing, you know, reflecting and contemplating in one of the Rembrandt paintings, and I stood next to him and I said, "Hello, Mr. Böde." And he turned around and said, "Hello, young friend." I mean, of course, I was over 40, but he was over 70, and so I was a young friend. Everything is relative. And he said, "Hello, young friend." And I said, "Mr. Böde, I have a question." And he interrupted me and said, "You must be one of my former students. Now say, how do you like what they did to the paintings?" And I said, Mr. Böde, Professor." "Sir, yes, sir." "Mr. Böde, Professor, help me. There is something going on and I do not know what it is." And he said, of course, nobody does. "Isn't it a clever trick?" And I said, What kind of trick?" He said, "You know, they have restored all of the paintings in the Alte Pinakothek." And I said, "And?" He said, "Yeah, don't you realize? All of this dusty, all of this dirty varnish is gone. Look at the pictures. Look at how bright they are." And I thought, aha, there you go. And then suddenly, clack, in 1/10 of a second, it dawned on me. And then I said, "Okay, thank you, Mr. Böde. I wish you a wonderful day," and I went off. And I really checked. I checked each and every of the pictures there, and you know what? They not only were brighter, more colorful, even some of the more, how would you say, realistic, like Vermeer and all of that, they even looked sharper. I realized, and this is why I made the whole thing up with the stimulus and response thing, something happened to me in my memory. I had those pictures stored in a much different kind than I saw them in the kind of reality when I saw them after the restoration. And you know what? This difference in brightness made me feel, in a way, happy and light and good-mooded and whatever you want to call it. You have no idea. And I thought, that is really great, you know? Probably, you know, if you go to your childhood and you remember your childhood as a horrible childhood, and every time, you know, you go back to your birth house, you see a gray house. You know, why not just renovate it and paint it bright white and put flowers on it or something like that? Because what I realized was that while I was looking at changed pictures, my mood, my feelings were drastically changing. And this is something, you know, I thought, okay, this changes the whole continuum of what I thought would be possible or not possible. If you remember, and you say stimulus response can also be response and stimulus. If you remember and you say, okay, there is pictures in my past I have seen and they should change or have not changed, and suddenly they are changed, what would you do? I mean, you just could not help and would become kind of, how would you say, lighthearted, flamboyant. Even, I mean, so many people think, I have to have a change in my past in order to. You don't. But if you change right. And going up and down in this elevator in the Sainsbury Wing, this is where I think I lost myself a little bit, excuse me, but actually that was what I was kind of drifting away pleasantly while the door was going many times up and down. The elevator was going up and down, the door was opening and closing, elevator was going up and down. And I was just pleasantly remembering, and I thought, this lady is looking at the pictures of her past, which is not true, because it's not her past, it's not her pictures, it's some pictures of somebody's past. But she was out there anyways, and I thought, how might she come back? And while I was thinking that, and while I was, evaluating about all of these pictures and my experiences and the changes she might probably have, she was coming back pleasantly with this gentleman into the elevator again. And then, oh, great, here we go, the nice times come again. She looks at me sheepishly, stands just like next to me and says, you can do whatever you want with me. I don't care. Somebody is taking care of me now and he's going to punch you in your face when you make me good feelings again. No. Oh, did I tell you I got thrown out? No, this is a later story. We will come to that later. And doors close. Going up. She looks at me and she says, I'm having them already. Don't you mind? And I thought, great, I don't even have to say it. I turn around and look at a Chinese lady and look at her, and I fixate her and I say, and do you have it too? And she said, what do I have? Did I do I lose something? I said, yes, you lost your good feelings. But there they are. And she started to smile. So the other lady just next to me said, and me? You don't even try. I said, you didn't want good feelings. And she said, yes, I have brought them with me. She pointed to the man next to her. Actually, she looks at me and she says, and regarding this sentence from just before, she must have had serious time distortion, because just before was already almost half an hour ago. And I said, yes. And she said, yes, the thing with the bright future. And I said, because I was a little bit lost, I said, bright future. Yes. When I step out, I will have a bright future. You started to program me. And I said, yes. And she said, well, he's going to help me. He's going with me, and you will see, I will. So we are, on the, what was that? The ground level of the basic level, coming from there, but coming from there going up, coming from there going somewhere in between. Where the bright light is when the doors open, going, doors open. The female voice. And she really steps out. Smiling and giggling with this gentleman, and I have never seen them again, but I would opt for a wonderful future for both of them. Came back instead two very mean-looking gentlemen. Actually, I think it was definitely no English gentleman. I have no idea what kind of security personnel they have in the British Museum or in the Sainsbury Wing, but they were really mean looking, like colossus, like bong and bong, mean looking. And they were looking around. Obviously, she had talked to two of them, and they fixated me. I don't know how they knew it was me, but one stepped up to me and said, "Sir?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Sir, have you been making a lady good feelings recently?" No, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. And I said, Yes. And then, big mistake. Experimental hypnosis. I said, would you want one too? A man like that, like that, he gets really scared. He just steps back and says, oh no, I'm married. And I thought, what? Sometimes your path is in experimental hypnosis, whatever you do, really, go definitely beyond your limits, and then you just go for a ride, really, just go for the ride, because believe me, I never ever, I had a great time in this elevator cage, really going out, going down, going up, going down, doors open, doors closed, sometimes into a bright future, sometimes into a weird past, sometimes into a different reality of another stage somewhere, and whatever. I have told you a little bit about that, but what I never get is, why did I got thrown out? Well, actually, I got guided out, And this guy was resistant. I tried, but he said, sir, we have, what do they call it? A phaser, I think, or something like that. These things they have, and they make like millions of volts, and they just put it on your ass, and they do like that, and then you just pass out completely. And then they don't have to cuff you up or whatever, they just drag you out. And he just said, sir, I have a phaser. And I thought, okay, thank you very much. I'm the nicest guy in the world. And I said, yes, I'm behaving, sir. And he just guided me and he said, don't you come back. I know. And don't you ever make somebody else a good feeling again in our house. And I thought, yes, right you are. Tomorrow I'll face the challenge of being phased into a good feeling. So I have lied a little bit about you because I have started all of this thing when Ronnie, which is back now, yes, Hala Ronnie, was kind of calling me, and what I told you, took longer than those 2 hours back into the heart of London. But I wanted to keep on that. Once I'm on a track, I really, really, really like to finish up things. So I just parked the car, I went up into the St. Katrinstock apartment and all of that, and then I went into bed, and I just fantasized. So I have not talked about a few things which had happened in between, but I was already in bed and, off dreaming and whatever. But I think you will probably, without those interruptions, have enjoyed the little stories I had to tell you and the kind of roller coaster ride I have not put you in, because this is not experimental hypnosis. And let me see, my white light is still there. Yours might be blizzard. This is not a blizzard, it's not yet time. I think we have 1 week more, and then it's snowing, isn't it? The white light is going to be everywhere when it snows, you know that. And you will have good, because I know Richard has a phaser. A different kind of, but this is something you will experience probably further and further tomorrow and those days to come. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you very much, ladies, and probably these days again or not. Thank you.